I think I entered a bit of a depression. It was not just suspended, I was excommunicated. You can't take a monk cave mindset in a concrete jungle. I don't want to solve for climate change. I don't operate in balances, I operate in extremes. AI has to be a great and efficient slave, it cannot become the master.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Breaking Uneven podcast. We love to talk shop, uncover the beauty of failures, and play a few games. We're talking to the founder of Workverse, Samyak Chakrabarty, today. After completing his degree at Jai Hind College, Samyak leapt into the world of marketing with DDB Mudra, became a fellow at INKTalks, and thereon jumped into entrepreneurship. First with the Green Batti project, and then Workverse. Um, have you missed anything noteworthy from your journey so far?
That I was, the turning point in my life was at the age of 16 in school. I was suspended for a month because I wrote a love letter, a 14-page love letter.
Oh,
14
wow.
pages, so 20, I mean, so two sides, so 28 pages actually. I profusely expressed my love for her, how I envision a world with her, how being with her helps me, find my purpose. But I thought I was writing a great letter, but as it happened, it came into the hands of the principal, and I was suspended for a month, and that was a turning point of my life because. For whatever reason, and I thank universe for it, I saw it very conversely. I said I'm being punished for being expressive, for being fearless, for being emotionally intelligent, and these are all the skills that actually really matter for success, especially today in the context of automation. So that incident in my life was a turning point, and that kind of made me want to say screw you to the system, and got me to where I am today.
Oh my God, that's insane. And like at such a young age. But yeah, before we delve deeper into all of
Yeah.
that, we have a quick little game for you to understand more about Workforce. So let's get started with that and then get into
Yes.
how it changed.
Cool. So the first game we play is called the Twitter Pitch Challenge.
Hmm.
Twitter is known for its 280 character limit on every tweet, which sometimes makes it a little difficult to convey your thoughts. So
Yeah.
it takes about 20 seconds to speak 280 characters.
Yeah.
And basically, we're going to transfer this challenge to you, which is to explain to us Workforce in 20 seconds. But it's not so easy. You also need to use one emoji and one hashtag in your tweet. Cool?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm not going to give you more time to think.
No, I
I'm going to
know. I
start.
know.
All right, so your time starts now.
Workverse enables humans to outsmart artificial intelligence at work. Hashtag remain relevant. The emoji is a robot, but being hit by a man.
Not bad at all. Under 15 seconds. Very well done. You've also made it quite tough because we like to translate this into an actual Twitter post when we post about it, and I don't know where I'm going to find that emoji.
It won't be
Um,
one in actuality. It'll be like a human
right.
winning, battling with a machine.
I'm going to make it happen. I'll make it happen somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, before we get into Workforce, I want to go back to your life-changing moment, that is
Now,
you writing that love letter. So just curious to know that in that 1 month where you were suspended, like what did you do? What was like the thought process and what did you do in that month?
first, much to my mother's disappointment, I ate Mongenie's cake with chocolate sauce every afternoon. Um, and however, to go deeper, it was I think I entered a bit of a depression because which I learned retrospectively. And that chocolate, that cake and the chocolate sauce was my dopamine hit to remain in focus. That 1 month. So fortunately, my parents and family were very supportive because they were laughing like, you got suspended to write a love letter. Anuj, if you're a, I know you're a Powai boy, but since you're a car boy now, Bandra car boy, there's Jasud Ben ML was the school that I went to, and at that time it was a very orthodox Gujarati Sindhi mixed school, and it was not just suspended; I was excommunicated because all the parents were warned that you shouldn't let your child hang out with Samyak. Most of the parents were from very orthodox families. We were the only, I think, in my entire class, my parents and one more were only working professionals. who moved from outside Bombay and had seen the world. So it was a good school academically, I will give it, but in terms of letting a child be, it was very restrictive. So I was excommunicated, and suddenly it felt like I have molested a girl. I'm sorry to put it so bluntly, but the punishment that I was given and the experience that I was given was I've actually done something that I shouldn't have done. Whereas all I did was profess my back then love for a girl like any guy or girl would do, right? So in that month, and I was 16, so and I believe a lot in destiny and spirituality. So I think that event triggered my dark night of the soul, which is essentially a poem which describes a soul journey that is triggered by a life changing event. And that one month, I discovered what's my life's purpose, which I'm still living now. It is to create platforms that recognize a person's inner talent, their creative talents. And by creative, I don't mean art, but the word create, the talent to create something, and nurture that, enable that, so that no system can excommunicate a person because they don't fall in line with the system, whatever that line may be. That's what I did in the month. I cooked up my life's purpose, and I say cooked up because I don't believe that everything is just. I mean, universe creates conditions, but you still have to figure it out in your head and then move towards it.
No, it's extremely interesting to know like those moments in life which has like redirected people's lives completely and like make them the people they are.
Yeah.
So it's great to, I wouldn't say great, but like in the sense that like the way it happened and the way it,
No, it's great. I think
yeah,
that we humans underrate the power and beauty of suffering, and this whole current toxic positivity professed by social media is doing great disservice to the true spiritual process that every human must go through. I mean, I'm happy that I had a painful school life, because that has pushed me to do something meaningful. I mean, at the cost of sounding pompous or arrogant. Most of the other people that who are the good students in my batch or celebrated by teachers are now influencers. They're just doing things to make themselves money and make themselves famous, and they're not really doing meaningful stuff for the world. And I put myself slightly above based on what I'm doing, and I thank that tough moment for it.
yeah, no, that's interesting. I think like overall, yeah, people run away from suffering, but in a lot of cases, the suffering is what brings you much more. It's
Yeah,
we've had a couple of conversations, and it's always like in the sense of desperation is where innovation has been created and is where they've grown from. So yeah, that's definitely interesting to see, and I guess for it to be laid out in the way that your life has turned out as well. But I definitely want to put a pin on the spirituality part and things like that. I think we'll get back to that at some point in our conversation. But
yeah.
before we delve deeper into that or even Workverse, I wanted to know a little more about your experience at INKTalks and what did your engagement as a fellow really mean?
Um, you know, I think platforms like Ink are great at making different people meet. If I were to summarize my experience as being a Ink fellow, I had someone who had invented a 3D printer. I had this very famous, actually, young boy called Shrikant Bolla, who's a blind boy, and he runs a 100 crore plus business called Bolland Industries, even though he's specially able. I had somebody who was on the mission to legalize cannabis, and then I had somebody who is trying to build a device to speak to plants. So it's a wide ranging set of people, and what fellowships like Inc do is they expose you to the realm of possibilities and build new neural pathways in your brain that you otherwise, while you're in your echo chamber, can't. And I would like to state that this is not networking, because, and why I particularly like the fellowship is we had no business connection with each other. I have not benefited, if I may use the word, from knowing either, except we've gone on great dinners and so on. um, here is where, because see, otherwise there are many, like, platforms where you network with founders, other founders, and you network with other creators, but that's very transactional. I mean, Anuj and I are part of various forums where you know that you are coming to get something or give something, both ways. But there are few platforms where you go to open your mind. That's it. You just go with an open mind, and I think that's the Ink Fellowship experience for me.
Do you think, other than Ink, are there any? I don't feel like there are too many of these such platforms because, to me at least, almost everything seems super transactional nowadays in the sense that and I'm not saying transactional is bad. It can be good as
Business,
well. It can be
business
done
people
well.
ask that. Yeah.
But I mean, with the way you describe Ink, I don't know if I've seen any of those kind of platforms recently in India.
Do you want a blunt answer to that? But it's slightly being politically incorrect in the current times. But I think India still has to mature in terms of what relationships outside of familial and emotional, what they mean. I see. So I travel to the west quite a lot, and I have been part of various platforms, and I see that there people give a lot of value to connecting to a human's life experience, a human's knowledge experience, and engaging on that level first, and then moving to a transaction. Here I see that because we are hustlers, and there's also a positive side to it, because we are a very robust economy that can survive all forms of recession, because we are hustlers, we are jugadus. But a collateral of that is, therefore, we look at every person as a means to an end. uh, because of the dark side of a hustler mindset, we don't have enough platforms, not because those platforms cannot exist, but because people are very calculative of, why am I going here, what will I get out of it, why do I want to sit and learn from a 3D printing guy when I'm probably into a completely opposite business. I have nothing to learn from him. Having said that, it is slowly evolving. um, as our economy opens up, as we become more globally relevant, and as more people from aspirational and emerging towns come into the system, their curiosity is going to ensure that we have more such platforms.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I think you need. I agree that India is a very has a strong hustle culture, and such kind of seeking open-mindedness comes after you feel like you've achieved your
Like,
hustle's first
self-actualization,
of
like
yeah.
बाद में. But in cultures where both go hand in hand, you will see a lot more such platforms that just make you meet random people. It's like speed dating of brilliant minds.
Yeah. Okay, so let's come to, I don't want to say Green Bhakti or Nimaya or Workforce. Let's come to soft skills training, right? Which across your three platforms is a problem you've chosen to tackle. And it can be through towards different demographics, but what is your one-liner insight, right? What is that one thing that clicked in your mind that made you want to tackle soft skills training for young minds?
You know, um, let's change the word from soft skills to intelligence enhancement. I use the word soft skills because it is a more commercially understandable and sellable word. But what I'm actually doing is I am lighting battis in people's minds, or more technically speaking, firing up new neural connections. Because I fundamentally believe that humans, where we will continue to have an edge over artificial intelligence in at least the coming next decade, is our ability to think, perform, and create in uncertainty. Now think about this, right? There were two flintstones, and somehow we figured and converted that to a spark that led to a fire, and now we have nuclear bombs. Now there was no manual that this spark one day that was created in prehistoric times will enable us to think about creating a fire like a nuclear bomb. But we've always created an uncertainty and then built on it. uh, but I find that the system, and this is not India, this is globally, The system actually did reverse engineering where it said stop thinking, follow process, follow instructions. So in a sense, we were made robots of a few masters. My mission is to reverse that. My mission is to open up the mind and bring back people to the awareness that you already have in you that today employers want. Critical thinking, problem solving, emotional intelligence, all of this is already innate. It has just been shut. I want to open it. I want people to use what makes them them and bring that to the table, because that is something that a another person cannot replicate, and b most certainly a robot will not be able to replicate. It can emulate but not create from scratch. And that's my mission in life, and that's why Nimaya, that's why Green Batti, that's why Workverse through different forms. It is to open and ignite people's mind and to bring out from within what in terms of professionally what you can put on the table.
That's interesting in terms of your thought process behind why and also like what you're trying to get at. And another thing is that when Anuj and I went on your website, we saw, like the Workforce website, we saw that it says under manifestation. And throughout right now, also, you're talking about self actualization, manifestation. And I guess now I'm coming back to that spirituality point. Why does it say under manifestation?
Because I'm creating a world of work, and you cannot build a world of work. You cannot you cannot construct a world of work. You cannot construct or build any world. You have to imagine it, and you have to lay the foundation of a few pieces that eventually will create itself into the form and various forms that it will take. Because very practically speaking, in Workverse, what happens is each learner will have an avatar of himself or herself working in an imaginary company, and their choices will lead to the next consequence and how the story plays out, right? So I'm not pre-programming it, therefore I am envisioning it but leaving room for variability. That is why manifestation. Because a lot of people say, oh, manifest what you want and you will get it. The dark truth is you will get the essence of it. You will not get what you want. I always wanted to marry Katrina Kaif. I meditated on Katrina Kaif, but clearly Vicky Kaushal got the prize there. But the fact is that what I uh, truly felt, and the essence I always whatever wherever I focused on, the essence of an experience that I wanted, an opportunity that I wanted, happened. So my realization of manifestation is you think of the essence and leave room for variability, which is why I use the word manifestation.
Yeah, that's a different take on manifestation. Like, I think at least I understood it a little more better because, yeah, at the end of the day, you're trying to imagine the feeling that you get
Yeah,
for getting that or achieving that kind of
yeah,
this
yeah.
thing. So if you manifest that feeling, it's trying to give the universe a chance to play whatever it wants in your
Correct, because
favor,
you
but
can't
give you
define.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because you can't say na ki I manifest that I want to earn $1 billion. You manifest that sense of financial accomplishment.
yeah.
Now you could even get it from, like, for example, I'll tell you when I learned this, that my driver from 14 years, Babu, my man Friday. Uh, I guess somewhere he was hoping to get a little boost in income, because he had certain responsibilities, and I had some spare cash, so it just occurred to me in my mind, and it was 25,000 rupees. Occurred to me in my mind that I think I want to give him 25,000 rupees bonus this year. He's been very good. So I gave him 25,000 rupees. And he's also, sometimes we drink beer, not before driving, but we drink together. And he was like, he was in tears. He said, मैंने सोचा ही नहीं मुझे 25,000 मिलेगा. And I felt that his feeling would be same as if I got 25 lakhs. So the feeling
Yeah.
is the same, right? The numerical currency is different. I don't think he would have been any happier if it was one more zero. He would have thought, now I'll do this, I'll do that. But that sense that when you're in deprivation and you get a boost, that's the feeling, right?
Yeah. So in terms of manifestation and going a little more into like spirituality, How has spirituality played a role in your business career and like yeah, in either your entrepreneurship journeys or even in terms of just career in general?
So first let's talk about what I mean by spirituality.
Yeah,
And my meaning is not any better than your or right over yours, because I firstly believe something that Jiddu Krishnamurti put it very beautifully. There is no right way or wrong way. There is your way to God. You know,
yeah,
uh,
agree.
I met a pothead who said, "I smoke my way to God." Cool, man. If that works for you, then sure, man, no problem, right? So spirituality for me is being extremely self-aware of my spirit and backward fitting all my choices, my actions, my reactions, my decisions to what makes my spirit feel content, alive, and in forward movement. That is spirituality for me. And therefore, where it has played a role is I make my actions, choices, decisions based on that as an anchor. I'm not necessarily the most mindful human being, because I'm also a business person, so I have to be aggressive. I'm quite aggressive actually, as my colleagues would tell you. Of course, I do it with zero toxicity, but it is still aggression, because usually you have the because I'm quite authoritative. I'm quite meme, as my people call me, because I don't care if it's a Saturday or a Sunday. I need this shit done, and that's all I care about. So a lot of people think spirituality means Om Namah Shivaya or being very peaceful or being very kind. That may be so, but it is also being self-aware and knowing what you really want and acting towards it.
Funnily enough, when I and I started my career back in India a year and a half ago now.
Mm.
Um, when I came back, I was very hell bent on taking my experience from the UK, which is a
Mm.
beautiful experience, absolutely brilliant job, brilliant managers and everything. Focused on mental well-being and all of those things. I wanted to take that experience and translate it to Indian work culture,
Yeah,
which Indian work culture traditionally is terrible, right?
yeah.
And I went to the other extreme end of it, where someone told me, "Hey, I'm not feeling too good today
Mm.
at like 3 p.m. Can I leave for the day?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, of course. Please go take care and stuff like that." Even if they had something to work on, which was on a deadline.
Yeah.
And I realized over time, and this is something which my father told me, is it's good what you're trying to do, but there's a limit. There is a certain level of, as you call it, aggression. There is a certain level of, where does the buck stop that you need to build into this? Because people will, maybe not today, but 6 months from now, a year from now, people will start taking advantage of you. And a year and a
Absolutely.
half later, I've still not found the right balance.
So here's how I put it. So I have this wonderful writer in my team. Uh, the conventional tree loving, nature loving person who thinks all mankind, all energy kinds are connected beings, and we should express each other with love and all of that. And we were having this conversation over a bira. I said, "Can you pay with love?" That's one thing I told him. Second thing I told him, if you want to be a monk in a cave, then you live in that cave. You can't take a monk cave mindset in a concrete jungle where you also negotiate your salary with me, because next time I'll give you appraisal in love. No, I will not give you appraisal in cash. So the reason I say this is that spirituality is so under sorry it's, yeah, so it's so incorrectly explained to our generation today. And I take the higher ground here, because I put myself through learning from old masters, through books, through I've met people. I've spent an hour with the Dalai Lama as well when I was younger, thanks to my grandparents. And I realized that spirituality is not a definition. It is an experience or a path that you want to take based on the purpose that you have set for yourself or has been set for you, and you do it with all intensity.
I agree. I agree. Spirituality, I mean, as you said, right? Spirituality is everyone's own way.
Yeah.
There's no saying what's the right way, wrong way. It's what everyone believes.
I mean, I'll
And
give you another example. I mean, something that I that I noticed. I was every Ganpati near the Bandra Talao, they make Ganpatis next to the temple. So I was walking one day and I saw this Karigar uh, sculpting a Ganpati there with such focus and intensity that I think he met Ganpati spirit more than the people who do Visarjan with so much noise. So, but that those people are considered more religious and more spiritual because they dance and rever in the name of God. But this person who probably cannot afford to Visarjit the Ganpati is making the Ganpati with such intensity. And I'm not saying those guys aren't spiritual. I'm saying it doesn't matter. It's to each their own. But you can't say the guy who made the Ganpati but is not doing the puja because he cannot afford it is less religious or spiritual.
I have the same argument with my mom. Every morning, she does puja and everything. And she's asked me to, what do you call it? Take Ashirwad from the temple at home and then leave for work.
Yeah.
And I have a habit of touching her feet every morning. And I told her one day, Mom, you have your way that, you pray to God and you do your ritual and everything. For me, my ritual is taking your blessing. But still haven't convinced her.
But
That's the
oh, that's weird because I mean you are. I wish I'm sure my mother wishes the same, but wow. See, everything is so contextual, no? Most mothers
everything
say
is very
बेटा
fun.
पैर नहीं छूता, ये बेटा पैर छू रहे हैं, माँ बोलती है तुम भगवान का पैर क्यों नहीं छूते हो? भगवान एक दिन बोलेगा अरे तुम मेरा पैर क्यों, तुम उसका पैर क्यों नहीं छू रहे हो? It is unending.
It's a never-ending thing. But tell me this. Now, we've
Hmm.
already seen that, spirituality is an anchor for you through which you solve problems. But, that every problem is not meant to be solved. So tell us one specific problem that you haven't been able to solve yet and why.
Haven't been able to or don't want to. Because haven't been able to is I'm still in the journey. Don't want to is
Forget haven't
probably
been able to. Yeah.
yeah.
Don't want to. Very interesting.
I think, and I'm going to be extremely unpopular, but again, who cares? I don't want to solve for climate change. I don't care about the problem enough. Why? Because I believe in this larger theory that we are going to move towards an end, and it will be a physical end. It will be an existential end, and the physical end includes the perishing of the environment. One, two, every human activity has a negative carbon footprint. Now, if we are constantly, if we want to really solve for climate change, we have to stop moving. We have to shut this laptop right now. We have to shut this session now because somewhere a server is burning energy, and somewhere, as a result of this conversation, some minus is happening in the environment. So climate change is a problem I don't want to solve because I do not think it can be solved unless human sees all activity or human sees all desire, which is absolutely not happening. Like with due respect to Greta Thunberg, she took a environmentally friendly ship from wherever she sailed to New York. She went to the UN, made a face at Trump. Trump looked at her. He also made a face at her. He went to about his business, and no one really cared because and most people who come to the COP summit or climate change come in private jets, so like really where's climate change? So that's a problem that I don't really care about or want to solve because it is going to happen anyways.
That's an interesting take. I think I wouldn't say I'm necessarily like trying to save every carbon footprint of mine or trying to be like the perfect person in that sense. But I think like to me there's still some sense of balance. Like I think it doesn't have to be like an extreme in the sense that okay, fine, like it's going to end, so why not try at all? But at the same time, it's not like okay, I'm gonna restrict every movement or being to be able to solve that because that's not going to work either. So I mean, like, do you think that like in your universe is there like a balance, or do you think
No,
that
I
it
don't.
is
I don't operate in balances. I operate in extremes. So for me, it's
extreme?
like if I can solve for unemployability because theoretically it's possible to enhance soft skills or workplace intelligence of every graduate. Should I have the money and the access? Can I? I can do it, right? So it's solvable.
Makes sense.
But if I feel that this is unsolvable, not just by me, theoretically it is
By the world.
unsolvable. then why do I put my mind to it?
Okay.
Like
so
to say that I met this guy who's trying to promote alternative meats. I said, your test is if you can convince a Punjabi guy from giving up his tandoori cooked and taking plant-based cooked, not even like grilled chicken burger and all. I said, look, if you can convince a hardcore Punjabi to give up his tandoori chicken, then we'll talk. If you can't do that, alternative meats are not going to be democratized in India. One little South Bombay club, sequel going people you want to convince, sure, feel good, be great on Instagram. But alternative meats won't become mainstream.
I
Now,
have a very
why not start? Sure, I mean, people can do it, but
Yeah.
you'd rather focus more on what you can actually solve. Like you can solve for poverty, you can solve for unemployability, you can solve for gender equity, even. So, those are things I think energy should be put towards.
I have a very grim outlook on this, which is whenever I see a movie like Avengers or
Hmm.
2012 or any of these, right, where there's a human race extinction level event,
Hmm.
my first thought is let it happen now. If you
But
think about it,
yeah,
all the sorrow and everything in this world exists because humans are alive. World peace, if all humans are getting extinct after the extinction level event, who cares? There's
my
no one
prediction,
left to care only.
my
But
prediction is
that
my prediction is one day when AI has more greater control on our systems, it will realize that the source of all problems is human itself. And
yeah.
you could have a bot saying, screw you guys, you are the problem. I'm pressing your off button. Theoretically, it's possible, but even if you look at it historically, and even if you look at mythology, if those who believe mythology, we have been through four yugs, and apparently this is the last yug, and after every yug there is a reset. So there might be a reset, and it's fine. I think we over dramatize. Sorry, I'll come. Janvi, I'll let you speak. I just want to complete this one thing. We over dramatize our existence. I mean, we are just a small speck in, not just as human race, but the earth itself is a small speck in the larger cosmos. Like we give too much of a damn about ourselves.
Yeah, fair enough. I agree in that sense. Like, yeah, we do care that we think of ourselves too much than we actually are. And also in the sense of like whether it's coming to an end or whatever it is, and it is a great possibility, and that's fine. And in the grander scheme of things, if people believe in sense of destiny or fate, nothing we do is going to make a difference to like the outcome then, like if you put it in that perspective. But I feel like to Anna just point in the sense of like, oh, like let the world die. Like fair, but the idea of world peace is for us to experience it, not for like the world to experience it after there's no world. But again, like that's just I guess like a thought.
I
But
mean, think about it, right? I'm going to put it even more bluntly. When we talk about our individual selves, our parents had sex and we were born, so we have no control on that act, why it happened or when it happened. Before you came out of your mother's womb, what were you? Let's not get into soul and all, because yes, I do believe in soul, but now so Samyak is my identity of if in this moment, as is Janvi, as is Anuj. So let's talk about Janvi and Anuj and Samyak, right? So before you came out of your womb, you don't know what you were. Something's going to happen and you're going to die. I mean, randomly today you are gymming and you get a heart attack. Imagine that. I mean, people
yeah,
think they're going for fitness and they meet heaven, right? So you don't know that as well. So because the two most important events of your life, the start and end, are not in your control, yes, you most certainly want to experience that journey to its maximum intensity, which is why I spoke about purpose, because purpose is therefore a story you create for yourself to give some meaning to your life, and which is why I'm
yeah,
doing the work that I'm doing. You may be doing the work that you're doing, but if you take it too seriously, what happens is, if you do not achieve that purpose, if you do not achieve the outcome that you want, you will sit back and say my life was a waste in
yeah,
your last 3 4 years. Even
yeah,
today, the greatest leaders, Modi ji, Xi Jinping, Putin, Biden, Elon Musk, all are going to end up in the same graveyard, no, as you and me.
yeah. Yeah, no, I agree in the sense of purpose. I think it's so important in terms of like the drive you have or like what you're working towards. And I think, I guess, like pulling it back to what your purpose is in terms of that. I think an interesting tagline you have is that building a world where humans are more powerful than AI. Sorry, I'm paraphrasing that, but what was the intention behind that? Like at this point in time, a lot of people are of the belief that AI is going to overpower humans, and you're trying to like negate that or like go in the other direction. So, what
Yeah,
was that
because the
that?
earth was meant for natural beings. These are just AI is just like one couple of excited creators, hungry and hungry and greedy venture capitalists. So these hungry and greedy venture capitalists meet imaginative innovators and tech guys who really just one wants to have the joy of creation, one wants to have the joy of taking $1 billion exit from that creation, and then there comes in efficiency because humans are lazy, so now we need to create efficiency. But to what end? To what end? Earth was built for natural beings first. You can't take care of your humans, you can't take care of your dogs, you can't take care of your children, you can't take care of your environment in this conversation, and you want to suddenly build this entity that is completely new. It makes no bloody sense to me. So then I'm like, while the world is talking about upgrading tech, I want to talk about upgrading humans, because so long as civilization lasts, humans need to remain in control.
No, for sure. Um that makes sense in the grander scheme of things, and I think we've reached a point right now where some people have lost that sense of thought, right? Like everyone's trying to push in terms of the AI being smart, or also like there are definitely people working towards how to make it in the sense that it doesn't destroy the human race, but everyone has that conversation of like, oh, AI is going to take over and things like that, but like no one's really directing energy to like, okay, let's upgrade the human intellect, or let's work on creating better humans that they're still like in control of what's going on
Yeah,
versus
because AI can
like
be.
leaving everything.
I'm going to put this again as very sharply. AI has to be a great and efficient slave. It cannot become the master. The human has to
Master,
be the
yeah.
master.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I think AI is a great tool. Like I think it's really like gonna help us in so many ways, but it's, as you said, it has to be a good slave and not
See,
necessarily over.
an analogy here is a calculator is a great aid to make
Tool. Yeah.
complex calculations. But when what if the calculator starts telling you what numbers you need to think about? That's dangerous, no? Right now, you are telling the calculator, मेरे को 2 + 2 बोल, ठीक है 4. But imagine now the calculator says now you need to earn 4. No, 4 + 4 is going to be 44. That's what AI one day will do to create its own logic, and you'll have to abide by it. Already happening. No, Instagram, which is driven by AI and ML based algorithms, is now telling you who to date, what should be your ideal girlfriend, where should be your next vacation. It's already in a subtle way happening. Now imagine that at government level, at workplace level.
This episode has become very dark, very grim episode, our
Calling it
grimmest
dark.
episode so far.
We
And
don't believe in anything at this point.
funnily enough, it's been one of our funniest episodes also. You should really start a dark comedy stand-up show somehow. But okay, let's in the interest of time, let's move on to our next challenge. So to understand more about a journey with Workverse, we're going to play um, Two Lies, One Truth. Self-explanatory game, but basically whether it's challenges or achievements or a mix of both, you give us three statements, out of which one is the actual truth, something that happened or something that is, and two are false statements. We have to try and guess which one's the truth.
Hmm. Um, I came on a. I once came on a talk show with Deepika Padukone. Two, I was India's youngest CEO at the age of 16. And three, I nominated myself to come on the Forbes 30 under 30 Asia list.
It's a very tough one. And
Yeah.
I think that's the fastest anyone has come up with these three statements also. Gosh. And I've done my research. It's still very tough. Okay, I'm gonna go with the first one, Deepika Padukone.
Is
From
the
the
truth you're saying?
perspective, is the
And you,
truth.
You concur,
What do you say,
Janvi?
Johnny?
I think I'm gonna say, oh, phew. I think I'm gonna go for the second one, the youngest CEO.
So Anuj is right. I actually came on a talk show with Deepika Padukone, the best experience of my life. I was like what 19 or 20, I don't remember. And I was in college, and I was obviously a little media friendly then. Since then, and I had been covered quite a lot. So I get this random call from someone saying that we would like to invite you for a talk show at Film City. So I said, okay. I said, now. I'm pretty sure like whoever they had in place of me earlier dropped out. And it was a show called Tere Mere Beach Me, Beach, by Farah Khan. It was a talk show where they would bring one emerging Bollywood star and then an emerging non-Bollywood personality. And so when but I don't know all this. I just got a call. I said Film City, they are sending a car. I'm at college. I just left college. I went and I went into Film City for the first time in Goregaon, and there are these huge makeup vans. And I'm not really, now maybe I dress well, but earlier I didn't care about my dress at all. I had falling hair at the age of 20. And so I was whatever. I was not meant to be on a talk show. um, and I was like confused, and one guy comes and says, there's a show here. You are with and Om Shanti Om had just released, so I knew who Deepika Padukone is, but never really obviously thought about more of her.
Yeah.
But we shared the same makeup brand, and I was like, wow. And
Whoa.
yeah, yeah, it was, but it was
That's
a
so
tough.
cool.
But it was a tough experience because first time it was a fully scripted show, and I had to wear like thick corduroy pants and a satin shirt, and you have these big lights, and then like to my speaking was lesser, hers was more, but like she would speak, and then the clap timing also had to be, because you see those things in the movies where they have to press applause and these paid guys applaud, and they had to do one thing like 10 times, and I was sweating. It was tough, but it was a great experience.
Interesting. I was just like, okay, maybe he had a secret little company when he was like 16 and started
No,
something
no, I
that might
did.
have.
No, no, he
The
did.
lie
He
is that
did.
I was a CEO at 16, but I was not India's
Not
youngest
the
CEO.
youngest. Okay.
Yeah, there was also a
Even I
13-year
thought
old.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be some 13-year-old one out there that's doing something.
Yeah. Even
Must have
I.
been.
There was. I remember meeting him at some forum, and I was like, shit, I thought 16 pe I was cool. He to beat me also. Yeah.
Oh God. But okay. Moving on to our next challenge. It's called red flags.
Red
So we're
flags.
gonna, yes, red flags. We're gonna give you three hypothetical situations composed of two things that are going great and one not so great thing, which is the red flag. And you have to assume that these statements are true, and we have adapted these for you. And then you have to pick which situation you would rather be in and tell us why. So situation one, Workforce has grown to 200 employees. You have successfully trained more than 1 million people, but your entire tech stack is wiped out in a cyber attack. Situation two, Workforce's latest recruitments are coming from foreign clients. Um, MNCs are interested in licensing your training for their internal teams, but every day there are more and more copycats popping up in the industry. The last situation, Workforce has successfully solved the AI and human collaboration problem. You've just raised a very good round of funding, but your recruitment numbers start to drop off and you don't know why. So these are your three situations.
I would be in three, because one and two, like one is my main goal, two is the enabler, and three can be solved.
Interesting. What do you mean by one being okay, one that's fine, the second being the enabler and the third being solved?
No, no. In situation three, there are 3 points. No, the third is the red
Yeah,
flag. So I'm
yeah.
saying one is what I've built this
Oh,
company
in
for.
the this thing. Oh, I
Yeah,
thought you
yeah.
were
No.
yeah,
So if Workverse has solved the AI human collaboration problem, that's what I started it for. I
yes.
raised money. Now with both, I'll solve the third challenge. No, recruitment numbers start dropping.
Huh. Okay, yeah. Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Sorry, I misunderstood in the sense that you're talking about
No,
situation
my
one,
bad.
two, and three. Okay.
So I would rather be in situation three.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
Cool. Um, let's go to the last segment, which is
Yeah,
the rapid fire.
yeah.
I mean, again, self-explanatory. 3 seconds to answer, one to two word answers. Um, let's start. So, question one: how many days of leave have you taken in the last year?
Three.
What was your proudest moment with Workverse?
The proudest day was when I thought of the name Workverse, because we were X Billion Skills Lab before, and
Hmm.
Workverse just popped during a fight with one of my outgoing investors. I'm building the world of work. Workverse, can't you see it? Workverse came.
What was your biggest sacrifice
And
to
by the
make
way, that same
Workverse?
night, sorry, sir, you must know this, Anuj, that same night that I had a fight, your dad bought me a drink. And that's the first time I met you two at that meetup. Because your dad said he's this guy's
Oh,
and I told him what happened, and he's like, "You need a drink."
interesting, interesting.
Yeah,
What was your biggest sacrifice to make Workverse possible?
I don't have a personal life.
What is your favorite part about the Workverse training?
That you learn by doing.
What is the biggest embarrassment you've faced? Other than wearing satin shirt and corduroy pants on a TV show.
I walked into a press conference where about this is not workforce. This is when I was 19, and the watchman didn't let me enter because he said I'm not fit to enter that room. And the journalists were still walking in, and they were supposed to interview me because I was a scrawny little fellow, not properly dressed. This that.
Gosh, what is the one time you felt like you let Workverse down?
I had a very stupid heartbreak, and for 1 month I was like in just a random zone, and now I look back, I'm embarrassed.
Would you ever retire?
No, no. My grandfather died, who's my inspiration. He died. He was working till the day before he died. So I'm gonna go the same way.
Okay. Do you prefer books or podcasts?
Books,
iPads or notebooks?
not books.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I am a night owl, but I have to be a morning person because I run a company. So it's a very tough
Threads,
conflict.
threads or Twitter?
Twitter any day. Zuckerberg is a drug peddler. He's peddling. Instagram is a drug.
And that actually brings us brilliantly to our last question. What's your favorite social media?
Neither.
In general, none of them.
I just use it because I have to. I don't like it. It's an honest answer. I think it's shit.
Okay. That concludes the rapid fire segment, bringing us almost to the end of our conversation. What we do towards the end is we ask every guest to ask our next guest the question. Neither knows who is who. So first, we're going to ask you the question that our previous guest asked of you, and then we're going to ask you for a question for our next guest. So your question is,
I would be interested in what is one thing that the next guest was doing in the beginning. It can be something like a process or something that maybe doesn't scale and that they had to change, right? As the company growed, as the company started growing, like what's the biggest change it can be in how they work or in tools or in stack or anything. I think that might be interesting to hear.
I had to stop being friends with my core team. That was a big change because, like I said, I have no personal life. So my life was the office. I would drink with my people. I would go on holidays with them. But then, as you scale, you realize you have to maintain some boundaries. So that was the greatest change that I had to make.
that's
That's
a
so interesting.
solidly
Yeah.
insightful answer.
And
Yeah,
it's not just me, it's Anuj and Janvi. It's most founders who've kind of built something ground up and with a group of people. They have faced this challenge.
Yep.
because even the people that they built it with see the founder as a friend, as a bro, and all of that, and suddenly he or she has to become this very commanding, authoritative, calculative human being, and they're like, what the hell happened to this person? He was my friend. So it's a very common challenge actually, that most people don't speak about, for I don't know what reason, nothing to be embarrassed about, but yeah, it's quite frequent.
No,
For
no,
it.
I feel like it's something that's happening to me, as I mentioned at the start of the call, that balance that I'm trying to find. This has
Yeah.
already been a part of that.
Anuj, as this podcast grows, we're not going to be going on trips anymore. Our friendship ends. But yeah,
Oh,
no,
this is
what's your question?
co-founder. We aren't
Yeah,
employee, employer, so it's okay.
Yeah, that makes it. Co-founders can still remain friends, and as they must, because
As they
because
must.
that relationship is very important, because VCs will try and come and create cracks and divides and all that kind of stuff. People will come and play politics between you two, but you
yeah,
have to remain right. So yeah, co-founders not a problem, or co-hosts. Like I would like to tell whoever is listening to this that, society programs us to think we live to earn, we live to procreate, we live to serve familial agendas. But beneath it all lies you, the individual. Before you are someone's son or daughter, before you are someone's employee or investee, before you are someone's father or mother, you are you. And while you must play these roles, as you may, you must always be aware of what is it that you are doing for yourself, because you will meet yourself in your last moment. You will. And what are you going to tell yourself then? Imagine a imagine a I was this morning I was in a conversation at Ficky about how do you enable more women to lead at the workplace, and a thought came to my mind that, majority of Indian women at least are still homemakers. And when they're in that final 5 minutes on that hospital bed or deathbed, they look back and say, yeah, I raised two kids, they have their family, I took care of my husband, I cooked food. Yes, I had my joy out of it, but that joy was that of a role of a mother or a wife. What about the individual joy? So to make this, life is otherwise hard, yeah. It's not easy. So to make
yeah,
it meaningful, one has to be aware of why I want to exist as an individual. And my advice to each one of those who are listening is sit with yourself and create a story for yourself. It doesn't have, and it can change every 6 months, but you should live a story that you've created for yourself before what you do for others.
yeah. That's
Love that.
Thank you so much, actually. Yeah, it's great. It's as you say, a lot of people live for other people rather than themselves, and
Yeah,
it's so important to get that
yeah,
reminder that okay, at the end of the day, it's you yourself that needs to
yeah,
be happy with where you are, and
yeah.
it's not playing those roles. But yeah,
Samyak, thank you so much, for joining us
Yeah.
on the podcast. It was an
Thank you for
absolute pleasure
inviting me.
having